According to a source I spoke to, Ford currently has zero investment in the electrification of powertrains. In fact, I was told by that source that senior management almost totally is either blind or has no interest in future technology. Test labs are 10 years behind. But more importantly, their thinking and mindset, according to that source, is 5 years behind current technology that Tesla already has deployed. Most don't believe it even exists. According to my contact, four bosses have no clue what investments to make and are constantly changing their view on what to do with electrification. They have such significant investments in internal combustion engines, not just the engines, but the test lab, the personnel, the teams, the calibration engineers, but they have nothing when it comes to electrification of their vehicles. My source says that current management is so entrenched, it doesn't even see it this way. The culture over there is pretty much 20th century thinking. Essentially, what we have here, based on my source, is a huge cluster freak. We have current management too afraid to deviate from former management thinking, which was in itself too afraid to deviate from former management thinking before it. So pretty much everybody's doing what the previous management did, not to get their head on the block, ending up in a situation where Ford is literally 10 years behind everybody else. Now, again, I have to caveat everything I said here. This is based on the source that reached out to me from inside the organization. I was not able to confirm how accurate this information is or the statements he made. This may be a complete fabrication or a total lie. I don't have any way to confirm it. I'm just letting you know what I was told. You go out and do your own research. Now, before we start with the actual analysis, a quick disclaimer. Everything is in this video, everything you hear is my own opinion, may be completely wrong. So we just heard from somebody who claims to be a source inside Ford that the company is allegedly lagging behind on electrification much worse than all of the other car manufacturers. We like to give GM a lot of flack for what they're kind of lagging behind, but this seems to be much worse, allegedly, according to this source. On the other hand, you got claims from Ford people who's actually claiming two things. First of all, they're claiming that they're being burdened by that $6 billion loan which they took in 2009. Essentially, the claim is that the $6 billion loan from 2009 is still actually pending, and the interest payment on that loan today is what's holding Ford back from being profitable. Now, we're going to test if that's actually correct or not. The second argument Ford makes is that they have plenty of cash to ride it out. They're not on the brink of bankruptcy. Again, we're going to fact check that claim as well. Now, as you can see here, the operating loss of Ford in the first half of 2020 was $4 billion. That's the operations, meaning the car sales, the financing activities, whatever. As you can see here, these are the interest payments, $653 million. So essentially, even if you just eliminate this loan and you remove it completely, Ford is still in the hole for $3.5 billion from operations. So that loan has nothing to do with Ford being in a deep hole. If anything, these financials prove that the loan is just an excuse. What's holding Ford back is its inability to produce any profit from operations. And that kind of ties in to the second argument. Okay, so let me show you the first half of 2020. Ford generated almost $48 billion in sales from its automotive department. Now, this is what they spent on cost of sales. Cost of sales being the cost to produce these cars and to sell these cars. As you can see here, they're in a negative margin, meaning that the cost of Ford to produce these vehicles, get them off the assembly line, get them into people's hands, is more than what they charge for the car, meaning they have a huge issue with efficiency. Either their pricing is wrong, or they're inefficient in the way they produce or procure the materials, or they're spending way too much on marketing and sales. Any of those things can be the answer. I don't really know at this point, but I can tell you that they're highly inefficient. What we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is an absurd situation. We have here negative margin. Essentially, every car that Ford sells is costing Ford money. Now, most often what you see is companies make some sort of margin, but at the end of the day can't be profitable because the other expenses such as headcounts, legal, overhead, G&A, all of that stuff kind of eat away at the profit. This is a company that can't generate operational margin, meaning that the cost of goods is higher than the car. So they either have to adjust their pricing or to make the lines much more efficient so it's going to be cheaper to produce these cars or to spend less money on marketing. Whatever the reason may be, they have to adjust because this has nothing to do with Tesla. Even if Ford sells gazillion million trillion more cars, they're going to lose gazillion million more dollars because they're highly inefficient. They're losing money on every car. The fact that Tesla is taking a bite from their market share, which is actually true, has nothing to do with the fact that they're collapsing. They're collapsing because they're losing money on every car. That cannot be sustained. What you need to understand is that we can just open the financials, find out how much cash they have, and see how much money they burn through every quarter. Find out how much time they have. If we do this exercise, this is what we're going to find out. $30 billion, almost $31 billion. Some of it is in actual cash. Some of it is in things that you can literally liquidate within a couple of weeks and get cash. So this is pretty much cash or cash equivalents. This note 7 actually is talking about some property they have, some shares that they can liquidate, some stocks, some bonds. But anyways, they have access to $31 billion. Having $31 billion is not that much when you're losing money and bleeding money like Ford does, but it does allow you quite some time. So how long will Ford survive on those $31 billion? That's a tough question because first of all, maybe Ford will get more efficient. Who knows? Maybe they'll start generating profits. Who knows? Assuming Ford doesn't change its behavior, it remains unprofitable. It doesn't even able to create margin. At that point, we have to look at the burn rate. The burn rate is about $4.3 billion per 6 months, meaning about $9 billion per year, meaning that they have about 3 years left in the tank. However, there's one thing you need to notice. That number may not be as accurate as I presented to be because here's the case. This company sold $73 billion in the first half of 2019, $47 billion in the first half of 2020, meaning that it's losing market share and sales fast. Meaning that by the time those 3 years run out, they may be losing even more money per quarter, per half, per year. So probably what we're looking at here is about 2 years. That's just a realistic estimate. That's just my estimate. I may be wrong as always. So I think Ford has about 2 years of survivability. The real question here, which I haven't presented in the start because I wanted to keep you guys in the loop, the guys who stayed all the way to the end of this video, is actually what do I think about Ford's chances to pull through? Can they make it? Can they make the change? Because right now, based on their financials, they're not doing a hot job. They're losing money on every single car. That needs to be fixed. And that stems from a lot of reasons, but mainly just to keep it short, they were unable for years and years to modernize their production lines, to create better procurement and logistics systems. A lot of things that went on over the years that nobody took care of and started as a small disease and developed into this horrible disease that is killing the company. However, there's one thing which is much worse. According to my sources from inside the organization, Ford has done zero investments in actual electrifications of drivetrains, meaning they have made zero progress in creating a line of electric cars. Now, you may debate with me how important electric cars will be in the future. Some people think that in the future, we won't have internal combustion cars at all, and everything will be electric. Some people think that it's going to be around and it's going to be an important player, but it's going to be side by side with internal combustion vehicles. In any case, whatever you believe in, there's one consensus here which you have to accept. Electric cars are going to play a major role in automotive sales within the next 10 years. How big? Nobody really knows. However, and that's the most painful point here, it seems that Ford is missing the big picture. They don't seem to understand the importance of developing electrification for their business. Having a line of electric cars is going to be huge if you want to survive in the next 10 years. And while we knock on GM and other OEMs for being too slow, for being way behind Tesla, Ford might be the worst case of them all because they're not only behind, they haven't even started. Because essentially with Ford, here's the thing. There's been many years of lack of development in this situation. So pretty much the new management is relying on old management and basically going, hey, that's how we always did stuff and it always worked for us. There's no need to change. They're losing money on cars. They haven't done anything to prepare for electrifications. They left themselves lagging behind and the industry is going to punish them within the next 2 years. Unless the government is going to bail them out again, which is something that can happen. Who knows? In any case, let me know in the comments what you think about the situation, if you agree or disagree, or you have any insights for me. And as always, a huge shout out to our growing list of channel members and Patreons. You guys have been killing it. We're up to 20 Patreons and about 6 channel members at this point. We just opened it up. You guys have been killing it. Thank you so much. You guys make it possible for me to create more quality content for you. Thank you so much. You're the reason that we're doing this. I'll see you guys in the next video.